back to Tactics Talk. On this episode, we have a new player sending in a replay. We've got Hybrid Sniper of the Clan 666. He's in his AMX CDC. Looks like he's in a 357, which is a pretty good setup for a Tier 8 tank. Don't see a whole lot of those. And a couple RD to deal with. He is on Steeps, and he is heading out in his CDC, a highly mobile Tier 8 French medium tank. It's a premium tank. You don't see a lot of them around anymore. They used to be quite popular because they had a pretty good gun on a very mobile chassis. But they've been overcome by several things in the game, and they're not as popular as they used to be. Especially with good players, this was a very popular tank, probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And a lot of it had to do with its mobility, and that's what we're going to talk about with Hybrid right here. When you've got a mobile tank, how do you use it? What is the best use of mobility? Sometimes people just use the mobility for mobility's sake. So let's see what happens here as Hybrid heads off on Steeps, spawned in on the south spawn, and it's YOLO time, fellas. We're going straight at him. We're going to kill him. No, we're going to cut across, and now we're headed over to the east. All right, holy cow, Hybrid. This is not something I would do in a CDC. It's fast. I see what you're doing with your mobility, but you're really exposing yourself. All of those TDs that sit up or can get up onto this hill right here could have got shots on you. Now, granted, they had to be fast like you were, and you went immediately after it looking for lights right there, and it looks like you did light the Type 64 as you came across, but I think you really risked taking some hits. And what's interesting is, there's the 6th Sense, and we'll find out right about here. Absolutely, you got lit and hit by the STA-1, which took advantage. Essentially, you just scouted yourself. You just self-scouted yourself, lit yourself up, ran across the map, got into an open spot where a fast medium could snap off a shot, and while that was probably a low percentage shot for the STA, he ends up taking some hit points from you. And we'll come down here to what is a pretty popular hold-down fighting position. We're just going to pop our turret across here. That's good news for the CDC because it's a very light tank and it's going to minimize the amount of tank that is exposed. It's not great news for the CDC because the turret is trash and anything in the world is going to pen it. So we've got a M4 E2 showing up right there and quite a few tanks. So let's take a look at the deployment. We have decided to go over to the east side. We've got a JT 8.8 coming up behind us. We have a E25 and a WZ-131 hanging out right there in front of us as well. Let's see how this develops. We're hold down, just minimizing our exposure, coming around the corner right here. Understand that there is an S51, so this is a very dangerous position with an artillery in the game. It's a bit of a difficult shot depending on where he has positioned himself, but it's not impossible, and shots can rain down right here. And what's interesting is pretty soon we're going to start running into our friend who moves up behind us, the 8.8 right there, who has just gone hold down himself, and now what's happening is we're pushing out in front of him. And so we used our mobility to cross the middle of the map, and we came down here to what is a corner hold down fighting position, and we're kind of sitting here. And one of the other strengths of the CDC is the gun depression, which is pretty fantastic, and a decent rate of fire and a pretty good gun. For my money right here, Hybrid, you'd have gone up and around this corner and got up where the WZ and the, now WZ's bugging out, and the E25 are, because you can position yourself on this little ridge right here and come up and pop over, or potentially come around here, maybe up top, take shots at these guys, and with the fantastic depression on this tank. But the good news is with an 8.8 back here, as you pop up and take shots, if they try to pop over and take shots on you, this 8.8 will punish him. One of the other problems with you sitting here is you're giving the artillery a twofer right here as far as shooting both of you and splashing both of you, and you're a very light tank. And you're minimizing the ability of yourself to flex around, to use this tank's mobility, because you can move from where the E25 is to up on that little ramp where I talked about. Now the 8.8 is moving forward. And this is your opportunity right here to really get in there. They just took down the 01. That's probably the scariest thing for you right there. Take a shot into that guy. Holy cow, how did that hit? But it did. Now we've got a 122.44 got lit right there. He's been hanging out back there the whole time, or he just barely got there. Unsure which. I'm surprised he didn't hit you earlier, so I suspect he wasn't there until just recently, but he gets absolutely hammered. You got the STA-1 up top, the Type 64. You've got a 5100 backing you up. Now this is an interesting situation right here. You pop over, you get hit once by the little tank there, and you have the STA-1 coming in, so you're going to back up. Now let's talk a little bit about mobility and reload. Man, you should have already been around the corner. You see how long it was from when you reloaded? Also, if you're paying attention, and you actually do a bit of the opposite of what a lot of people do, is you're really in sniper mode, driving around quite a bit. So if you'd have zoomed out a little, you'd have noticed his turret wasn't even pointed at you. You could have already been around this corner positioned and killed him off with a better aimed shot right there, because that ends up taking down your 8.8. So the inability to kill him, you lose the 8.8. Now we finally get him. So let's go ahead and take stock of what we've done. We finally cleared this up. We lost the 8.8 when we probably shouldn't have right here. There's two IKVs, there's a T-28 in the middle, and there's a couple guys, 3 or 4 over here, fighting. And so we're still in decent shape. It's time to take out these IKVs. You got an E-25 yourself, maybe the 3002 helping as well. Let's go get these IKVs and take them out. Now, if you had been up closer, this would have been much easier to deal with, because they're pretty decent sniper tanks. They're a little bit hold down right there, and unfortunately, you sit there while your E-25 gets munched for lunch. Absolutely just sitting back. And this is one of those things that drives people on your team a little bit crazy, because you had a complete opportunity to push forward and take out those two IKVs. The E-25 went in fully expecting more than likely a top tier medium with most of his hit points left to push up and easily sweep up these two IKV 65s, which we do not do. Now the 3002 is kind of in a bit of a pickle. We'll shoot in there and miss him. And the IKV's actually got a pretty good advantage on you right now. He's in a good spot. If you'd have been up where the 3002 is, coming up the side of that hill would be in a much better position for you, and he actually is able to back down behind there. Because of the range, you're going to have a hard time sniping him right there as well. The other IKV, I'll spit it out in a minute, moves up, and to your credit, you reposition, but he's actually looking at you, so he's going to come around here and get a shot. You actually snap him along the way. I would call that a little bit lucky, but you made it happen. And then, this is a little inexplicable to me. You just run away from this one. So really, a pretty severe mismanagement of this fight down here. As soon as you swept up the big kids and the two IKVs were there and your E-25 was alive, had you just pushed around with your E-25, you could have come up here and eaten these guys for lunch, and there wouldn't have been any kind of contest. You might have even been able to get in there and save the E-25. In addition, losing the 8.8 because you were unable to take down the STA-1 in a timely fashion based on mismanaging of your reloads. That whole situation over there is now strangely lost when it was very much winnable, and now you're running away. Now, I think potentially what's in your mind is you're going over to help get rid of this VK 100.01, and you'll deal with the IKV later. I think your line that you took to get there was pretty dangerous. You were lit for a little while coming across there, and you're very lucky that T-28 either wasn't paying attention or for whatever reason didn't have a shot, or perhaps you went dark just at the right moment. He may have even been looking at you as you came up and over that hill, but you blitzed across the middle, and that's just mini-map awareness, paying attention to big threats like that and not putting yourself in big open areas where they can take you down. Now, this actually works out pretty well for you. I'm just going to speed it up because it's a bit of a long drive. We come in here, and these two little guys are really doing their best to fight off this 100.01. Fortunately, their artillery is dead, so you don't have to worry about that. We're going to come around here and do a pretty good job of getting into his track, and then he just can't turn his turret. He doesn't know which way to look, unfortunately, poor guy, and piling it into his rear armor right there. Not a whole lot he can do, and you take the big elephant down with 1,000 cuts, which is good. Now you've got 3 of you left and 2 of them, and so this is a bit problematic for you. You're a one-shot. You're almost a one-shot to the IKV. Definitely to the T-28. So now we're going to go ahead and try to look for the T-28. The T-28 knows that you were there. He knows all 3 of you were there, so he knows where all 3 of you are. You don't know where the IKV is, or really the T-28. It's unlikely the T-28's gotten far, but the IKV is quite fast. Now, the longer this goes, the less good his information is as well. But I would tell you that pushing around this corner towards their cap is not the line that I would take, because that is what he's going to expect right there. There are some bushes for him to hide around over there. Also, pushing tanks is a bad idea, especially if there's live guys looking around. If that, what is that tank? If that 1375 had stayed in game, he may even be right now telling them that his dead carcass was being pushed around. I've done that in the past when I'm kind of just looking at my tank or clicking around through the tanks that are live. I see my dead carcass moving and say, hey, by the way, that my tank is moving. Somebody is over there. That's very dangerous what you just did right there. If he was looking in any way, and he's actually going to get a spot, and he was not pointing at you, which is very lucky. Stuck your front out a little bit. Now, the problem now is that's fine turtling up right there, but that IKV, I would be very concerned with that IKV. The T-28 can't shoot you because you got the big rock, but there's all kinds of different angles going on right here. I would have taken that opportunity to immediately back out of that and get the heck off that ridge right there, because if the IKV had any brains, he'd be somewhere right now or moving towards where he can get an angle on you and shoot. And inexplicably, you're going to stick your front end out there, and very lucky you didn't die. And then we're going to look into the far distance and salute with our gun. And now we are moving back, which is what I would have done from the very beginning. Back to the mobility aspect. So we've talked about a little bit of mismanagement of mobility. The first move across the field, I don't think was a great idea. You definitely had the capability to move a little bit closer and use the mobility of your CDC to help clean up your flank and keep a couple of your buddies alive there. And think about it now, wouldn't you have liked to have had that IKV-65 out of the game? That would have been absolutely fantastic to have him out of the game. And if you'd have moved forward quickly, you'd only be dealing with the T-28. Now, I like this decision. You're going to go the other way. That's what I would do. Something I talk about is when you get lit, make sure that as you back out, that you wait long enough to go the direction you want to go before you start moving in that direction. Or if you want to do a head fake, start moving one direction, and then when you know you're unlit, turn around and go the other. So we're going to use a bit of the spotting range rings right here, which is good. Don't get too close. I'd be real careful on this point, and you're actually kind of caught inside there. Now, if you look at this right here, and you're lucky there's some bushes between you and him, you're now inside the range at which he will have a reasonable chance of spotting you right here. Looks like your IKV friend is doing some pretty good work getting up there and looking for spots, getting him kind of busy so you can kind of shoot him. And I'm going to go ahead and do this so we can see what you're doing with your camera. Perhaps a missed opportunity for a shot there. It did take you a while to stop and take a look. But be careful about stopping out in the middle now because you're well inside his spotting range. I like this decision to get down into the hole and see if we can't get a hit on him. Yeah, try to track him. So that goes right in his side. I probably would have gone for his front road wheel right there or for his drive, and now we back up. Now, you can't be surprised that the IKV hit you. You moved up and over into this big open field. I understand you were probably looking to go for a flank, but you had to know that the IKV was sitting back on one of these ridges back here, maybe even over on your cap. And this whole open area is just a killing field to anybody hanging out on these ridges here, especially the IKV with a pretty good gun depression. So he pops you. And that limits your opportunities there, and holy cow, this is where your RNG shield is turned on, so I'm not really sure what piece of equipment that is, but it's pretty amazing how it works for you. I might have tried that shot. Get that, oh, go for that front sprocket right there. If you could have broken that front sprocket on the, oh geez, on the tracks, you might have really had something there. You'll back down. Maybe gone to the well one too many times right there. Either wait for the IKV, your friendly one, to light the guy, or go find another angle. He's kind of limited. He actually makes a bit of a mistake. He's going to pull up here. I think he thinks that you're going to be able to take out the T-28. But you definitely want to change this fight. Let's go somewhere else. See if we can get around behind and take out this IKV. He gets hammered by the IKV. An unknown what the HT-6 is doing. He may be plinking away at the T-28. Based on where he's sitting, I assume that's what he's doing, looking for shots, maybe trying to track him. T-28 just wants this IKV, annoying IKV, to go away, so he can't figure out how to get him without being hit. And we're using our mobility to come in. Alright, so we've pushed up. Let's make sure you didn't get spotted here. I don't think you did. Okay. And you're about to right here, but the approach on things like this is important. Now, if you were looking to attempt to maintain the possible shot on the T-28, you can see that that big rock is there, and that's not really your primary target right at this moment. I think your primary target is to get rid of the IKV. So as I came over this, I'd have used this low depression, this saddle here. I'd have come down and I'd actually dove down into the bottom area down there, or at least this flat part here, to minimize the amount of your tank that's up on this ridge. What you'd love to have is this guy not know that you're coming in here. So either go very low down here, or at least come down this side. I think you might have still got spotted in this area here, because he is kind of lifting himself up on that ridge looking for shots. So if you'd have dove down into this bottom area, you'd have come right up behind that guy, and it's very possible. See there, you actually got spotted like there. RNG shield on. Holy cow, cannot believe he missed you. And you just pause right there. You're out in the open. He takes that shot and misses. You need to start moving now and get somewhere where you're hold down or covered up. And I'm talking about maybe diving down into the bottom here, or at least getting behind this ridge right here. Or if you're being aggressive, moving forward and getting down like you did there, but that took a long time. RNG shield up, fantastic, and RNG loves you right there. And now we're gonna go ahead and get down low. This is, again, inexplicable to me. You turn rear end to him, and basically you are moving away and you are giving him a shot, because as you move further and further away in distance, he needs less and less of an angle to take a shot on you right here. There you go. And the good news is he's not smart enough to move forward. So what I have done right there, I just stayed up underneath this ridge right here and forced him, if he wanted to dive and come take a shot at me, more than likely he doesn't have enough depression, and I'd have a shot at him before he gets there. And then I just have to work getting that shot, and we just come up and over. This is incredible that he misses you right here. RNG shield, and you end up winning the game. So 3,279, 5 kills. Ends up being, I think, a lot closer than it really needed to be, based on the things I already talked about. The early flank where we fought over there. Avoid trying to go out in the open. And I think a lot of times you expose yourself in the open a lot more than you should have. Maybe taking lines that are a little bit safer. Think about the follow-on. When you came at that IKV, the purpose was not to let him know you're coming. The purpose was to try to get around behind him and kill him off. Good news is the HT number 6 is able to take out the T-28, and you don't have to deal with him anymore right there. So not a bad game, man. 5 kills, 3,279. Just some things to think about. And remember that mobility used just for mobility's sake is not really the purpose of the mobility. The purpose of the mobility is to use your tank to its strengths. So hopefully some of the things I gave you right there will help you do that with your CDC. Like I said, nice job. Thanks for sending in the video. For the rest of everyone out there, subscribers, if you got something you want me to take a look at, something you'd like me to feature, or something you think is good enough for the play of the week, go ahead and send that in. I definitely appreciate it. And as always, we will see you.